So I don't. I just remember. Actually, house. What day is Ron? You have Ron? Bring it over here. I'll give you. See, I need Okay. So I welcome you all. Luke is around here, but I'll just kick it off. He had to pick up Dr. Anthony Matheral, our speaker. Nothing yoga. He had to pick him up from the airport. Wow. And Dr. Anthony will be speaking in a second. Before anything, I just want to let you guys know that the restaurant has been going through some changes with management. They did not know we're here today. Oh, wow. Called in like 3 people from there Saturday afternoon. So keep that in mind when you're tipping them. Keep that in mind if your pizza takes 5-10 minutes longer. They didn't expect us, and yeah, they got a whole crew in now. So then the roll call. We have Modesta, the secretary, in the back. We have Joey Soria, our treasurer, who's not here today. We have Jessica stepping in for him. Thank you very much. We have Luke Wang, the president, and we have myself as the vice president. Then we also have Matt and Joe and Jessica and Justin and Larry and Jason that unfortunately couldn't make it today. And Jen, whoever she is. Oh, you're over there. I'm looking for you. Thank you for making it too. And then I just also wanted to say that we had the swap meet last week, and it was 2 weeks ago, and was pretty successful. It was a great time, and I saw a few faces here. I think you, I remember from the swap meet. This is your first meeting? Yes. Okay. How did you find out about us? Facebook or?
It might have honestly been Aquarium Co-op with their Find a Club thing.
Awesome.
And it was probably a year and a half ago, and this is the first time I found decided to go.
Great. Anyone else's first time here?
They had a great time.
Eric, your first time? Yeah. How did you find us?
Okay.
I saw you in the back.
Yeah, hi, it's my first time I saw your face through.
Awesome. Yeah. What are you keeping?
Spinach.
What are you keeping?
I have a couple of 75 gallons, then I now have a closet with 6 more small tanks. So just my goal is to breed things on my own instead of buying them, just to supply the 2 75-gallon community tanks with just common things.
Sounds great. That's how it starts.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah, that's how it all starts. What are you keeping? What? Yeah.
Right now, I just have a couple heavily planted tanks with beta and snails, and I'm gonna be starting a South American tank once it's finished cycling.
Awesome. Okay, and since I did the roll call earlier, this is also a great time to remind everyone that we do have elections coming up next month. Like every year, we'll be electing the board. Mostly, I think a lot of the members are planning to run again. A few positions are open, and you can nominate people online. Really important though, if you nominate someone, to them first. You get kind of nominated against the if you're also sometimes thinking, hey, I would like to help, be on the board. Having a board meeting doesn't sound like the thing for me. Just come up to us and let us know what else you may want to help us with. And yeah, on that note, we will hand it off to Dr. Matheral. Most of you will probably know him. If you don't know him, he is the director, I think, of the Amazon Research Center.
No, the executive director.
Executive director
And founder.
and founder, the big man at Arcov. And they were the recipient of our charity auction at last year's FinTech. And they've kind of built out a full public aquarium. And I'm sure we'll be seeing and hearing a lot more about that in a second. So give a huge round of applause for that.
So I'm gonna tell you what you don't want to do if you want a public recording. We went into this with our eyes just thinking everything was gonna be rosy. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So this is a friend interest to the Aquarium of the Amazon. Amazon Research Center, we started about 12 years ago, 14 years ago. The aquarium has been in planning stages for the past 5 or 6 years. We decided very early on, we had to decide what did we want to do? Build more dorms, because we have dormitory facilities there, or build a public aquarium. We decided to bypass dorms right now because we needed to generate some type of revenue. The research center and the aquarium is run solely on donations. So we wanted to get some income for the research center. So we decided to build a public aquarium. So this is how it started. Large room, cement stands, and that back panel there is a aquarium that is 20 feet wide, 6 feet tall, and 6 feet deep. We had to purchase the acrylic and have it shipped from China. The acrylic is 10 inches thick. And to move it into place, we actually had to take off the roof. It was accessible to the front doors, but it was so heavy that we couldn't lift it, so we had to have a crane come in and do it for us. So at my house, I just left California. We now live in Portland area. I just retired in May from my university position. I built a plywood tank about 20 years ago. And the only reason why that plywood tank doesn't exist today is because when we moved, no one wanted it, and I had to tear it down. Literally, I took a sledgehammer and sawzall and cut it all up. So 25 years that tank lasted. So I thought, well, I'm Mr. Expert on building aquariums. As I built that one, it was a 8-foot or 7-foot front, 4 feet on each side, and it was a big corner tank. So what I decided to do, let's build our tanks. So we got a bunch of plywood, got 2x4s, 4x4s, built some good sturdy tanks. And they were sturdy, very sturdy. We fiberglass all the tanks. So put a coat of fiberglass rosin, then put fiberglass fibers, and then about 8 coats of fiberglass rosin over that. And then at that point, what we did is, if I can get to it, there's me, my wife, and Carlos, our director. We used 2-part epoxy and we painted over everything. So 2-part epoxy is, not water permeable, so the water won't go through. It's just an extra layer of protection. What happened in the large tank was the epoxy would not stick to the fiberglass because all of that is cement. For some reason, the fiberglass and the cement made it too smooth, and so the epoxy paint started peeling off. And so what we did is we took a scraper and ended up scraping off all the epoxy paint. It's just fine. It kind of looks gray. It's kind of gray brown now, so it looks fine. So that disaster was averted, except that when we put in the acrylic, there's a little ledge here, so the acrylic sits here in this ledge all the way around. Well, these edges aren't perfectly straight. So there are big wide gaps. They send us this special silicone that they use for acrylic because regular silicone doesn't stick to acrylic. So it's kind of like a silicone cement. And when you put that in, the water pressure pushes up against it and it makes a gasket, not a casket, but that's what I did, a casket. But water would still leak. So we had a leakage problem.
1035.
1035. Oh, 35, I think it's 10. And so what we ended up doing is we took roofing pitch, and filled in all the holes with roofing pitch. Not a single leak at that. So we ended up doing all the tanks. We also, when we bought the large acrylic panel, we brought in an acrylic tunnel. We call it the tunnel tank. It allows the kids to walk through. And I'll show you pictures of it at the end. And so that's Aldo, our main worker. He's a typical size for a Peruvian. That opening is 6 feet tall. So Peruvians tend to be very short people. Most Americans have to kind of go under. Except me, I'm a short guy, but for Peruvians, they have no problems walking.
How thick is that acrylic?
That acrylic here is about 3 inches. And so that's looking at through the tunnel tank at the overall aquarium. This is a stingray tank. And so we have tanks on one side that we walled off, the false wall, smaller tanks on the other side, and we have a wall that goes around. And this tank is actually my favorite tank here. It's 6 by 6 by 6. It is a flood forest tank that I have put in. Right now there is 75 discus, about 200 rummy nose tetras, and about 500 small corridors astropersonales. I don't know if it's now corridors. Here, he would probably correct me. I don't really care. I spent the weekend with him last weekend, staying at my house for Oktoberfest, so I've had it up to hear corridors names. You tell him. Hi, Eric. He's having fun in Australia right now. So everything was fine and dandy. Until we filled them up with water. Now this is all cement. So we had no problems with this because we had no glass to go. This is actually a feeding tank. We have pacus and some large achara catfish that we have the kids, when they come through, actually feed the fish. And I have a video that shows that. So as we were filling up, Carlos went around and checked all the tanks to see if they were leaking. Fortunately, at the time, none of the small tanks leaked. But that's what happened after it leaked. So we tried a couple things. All these tanks had pinhole leaks. They just drip water constantly. And since it's all wood, in pine, that would just disintegrate. So what we did is, first thing we did, we thought, okay, we'll use the tar pitch. We used the roofing tar and just go through every seam. Still the same leak. So then we thought, okay, how about if we line the entire inside with cement?
Pizza 25?
Right. So we had 2-inch layer of cement throughout all sides of the tank. problem is the cement doesn't stick very well to the front glass. So we had drip, drip, drip. And this was pre-COVID. So this is happening before COVID. And we weren't sure what. I cried many nights trying to figure out. And so we ended up destroying every tank. Now, the reason why, anybody guess why the tanks would not work? Well, cell pressure was fine. They weren't what? Well, my take it home worked fine.
Atmospheric water.
No, not atmospheric water. No,
The fiberglass style.
not before that. I even Ford put the cement in. Why didn't?
This is all straight.
I mean, not straight.
You had mentioned something earlier.
I measure perfect. Measure 5 times, cut 3 times because you make 2 mistakes beforehand.
I said the humidity.
Well, that's really the key. We go to Home Depot, we get wood. What's that wood? What? Kiln dry. Here, this wood was probably 3 days old. Not dried at all. So as the wood dried on its own, it started to twist.
Yeah, more.
And even with that fiberglass is really, really strong. And even though we had basically 9 layers of fiberglass and a layer of fiber, as it twisted, it cracked all the fiberglass. So no matter what we did, we couldn't overcome the warpage problem that we had. Just a fish.
Oh, snails.
Oh, snail. Okay. So this is the coffin that we had after we tore away all the wood. Those were coffins.
So you literally smashed them up.
We literally smashed them up. Luckily, we kept the glass. So what we ended up doing is we ordered fiberglass tanks from the manufacturer in China. When you buy any fiberglass tank that you buy here in the US is actually built in China. So instead of going through the middleman, we went directly to the supplier. And it took about 9 months to get these tanks here. That's only where the trouble started.
Oh, no.
Shipping cost was $700. Oh yeah, that's really cheap.
Yeah.
Per tank?
No, for the whole overall. But they neglected to tell us that was from the warehouse to the port in Shanghai, which is 50 miles.
That's right.
So they neglected to tell us about the shipping costs from China to Lima, Peru. Now from Lima, everything has to either come over on a plane or work its way down on the river. So there's no roads that lead into Iquitos from anywhere except a town that's 45 miles away. So everything's has to come on the river. But the shipping agent in Lima, who used to be a friend,
What's French?
had a bad experience. He tried to sell 1,000 Caracaya turtles. These are a endangered species in Peru, but 10,000 of them are sold every year on the aquarium trade or the pet trade legally, and probably 150,000 are eaten that eat the eggs. So it's endangered in that it's range restricted, and so in parts of its ranges it's highly protected. But a lot of people farm raise them now. Well, he lost his shirt on that, and so we sent him the money to pay for the shipping costs. We sent him the money to pay for the shipping costs from Lima to Iquitos. And he said, okay, I'm going to put it on the boat tomorrow. Well, a week goes by,
So.
we're having problems. It's gonna be next week. Then I'm gonna put it on the airplane and I'll pay for the airplane and I'll be on the airplane with it tomorrow. This went on for 2 months. At a cost of $500 a day storage fee at the port. So the guy kind of disappeared. And he was the broker for all the exporters out of Peru. All the fish exporters use him as their export broker. Not anymore. So we called the port and negotiated a price from $30,000 down to $10,000. And we had a spy at the port videotape as they were loading the tanks onto the trucks and then onto the boat that we knew for sure they were going to get there. So that's one of the problems working in a foreign country. You got to know how to work in that country. One of our board of directors is a very important lawyer in Peru. He is the lawyer for environmental law in Peru. He sits on our board, and we called him and said, "Can we sue him to try to get our money back?" I said, "Sure, you can sue him, but the way Peruvian courts work, it may be 20 years before the lawsuit is finally settled."
Interest would be pretty good by the time that's done.
No, there's no interest. My interest in this place should have died by then. So here's the tanks coming in, shipped in. They even gave us a free little tank. This little blue tank inside here. It's like a 100-gallon tank. I don't know why they gave it to us.
Samples.
Free samples. They wanted us to buy some more. After the tanks had water in, we're getting ready to open up the public aquarium. Okay, we go in December. We're going to open up 1st of January. So we try to get everything straightened. And then this starts happening. You can see all the bubbles that are forming. So somehow water got underneath the gel coat and started to create these bubbles. And in fact, what happens is you get some type of chemical reaction and it looks like glue all over the place. And this is a good close-up. And so I called the company, said, "We have this problem." "Oh, don't worry about it. That happens in all tanks." No, I don't think so. I said, "If it happens in all tanks, why didn't you tell me it was going to happen?" "Oh, we just assumed it'd be okay." So every tank that we bought, this happened. And so I had a friend on Facebook, don't know the guy, but he is also a manufacturer of acrylic tanks in China. And I emailed him, said, "Can you help? Is there anything we can do?" Because the company has stopped responding to me. So what he suggested doing is sanding down all the tanks, popping all the bubbles, really scraping it down really well, and then apply fiberglass and fiberglass rosin. So we're back again to where we started from, and then using the 2-part epoxy.
This is on the inside of the tank.
Inside, this looking through the front glass through the water.
Oh.
Because on the outside, I wouldn't worry about it.
How big does that measure?
This is probably quarter size, but they're all over the place. I mean, it just look bad. Much less, I don't know what chemical reaction is going on there. If it's, going to kill the fish. And so we averted that problem.
For 23.
Well, we had 23 problems. So this is the filtration system that we built. And why shouldn't we have problems with the filter system? We had two problems with the filtration system. Somewhere along the way, there were micro bubbles that were forming. And we're talking micro bubbles. Micro bubbles like you see in a protein skimmer. And that was getting into the water and was causing embolisms in all our fish. So when we originally put the discus tank up, it had 50 red spotted green discus that we bought from fishermen. Micro bubbles went in there and we lost 50 red spotted green discus. And we were losing fish every day. I mean, it would happen immediately to these fish. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up isolating tanks. One big tank had one of these filters. And then we started just rigging up all these little filters all around. So basically each tank has its own dedicated filter. It's just there are 32-gallon jugs that we filled with porite reticulated foam. Each one has their own pump, and we just recirculate and pump and filter it that way.
Did you figure out the problem?
Yeah, the engineer who designed this did a bad job for us.
Oh my.
The engineer was me and my partner. We went to a company and they said, sure, we can design your filtration system, which is basically what they were to begin with, and we'll charge you $100,000. You guys got 100,000? I didn't have 100,000. Much cheaper. The filtration system itself cost us about $10,000. Okay, this was the same thing they were going to use. We have micron filters here, a UV filter, a big sand filter. We have 4 of these in the filtration room, but they probably wouldn't have microns to get their system.
Did you ever figure out where the micro bubbles were coming from?
No, we never did. Now the PVC that they have is not Schedule 40. What's the really thin stuff? 125. And they have 3-4 inch PVC that is as thin as paper. Say they don't have Schedule 40. I mean, all these pipe fittings were brought from the US. I brought all the pipe fittings, any big Schedule 40 pipes, I actually had to buy from the US and bring it over when I go. You really can't get much in Peru, in Iquitos that is, because it's so isolated from everything else. So, we got everything fixed. After 4 years, we got it going. So, nothing goes wrong. So this is the opening ceremonies. This is me, my wife, and all of our employees at the aquarium. My wife cutting the ribbon with the governor's representative. The governor would not show up, even though he's invited, because people hate him and afraid he's going to have tomatoes or rocks thrown at him.
Better than bullets.
Better than bullets. Okay, we're gonna this is a video, but we're gonna bypass that video. You can come back to it a little bit later. So this is the tank. This is the aquarium as it appears today. So you walk in through. You have this tunnel tank. There are 10,000 neons in this tank, even though you can't see them. There are gold and green laser corridors on the bottom. We have some bleeding heart tetras. So basically various tetras. The neons don't school like you would expect them. They just go all over the place. It may be that the area is a little too small. This is 10 feet wide, 6 feet tall, and 3 feet or 10 feet this way, whatever that is.
Put a big prawn in there. That's cool.
Right there, they would school, yeah. But then we would have
Problems.
You didn't know where else to.
yeah.
Maybe it's-
So We host school kids, every day. We host, kids from the local schools in Iquitos. Iquitos has a population of about 700,000 people. And so, every day we have a different group of elementary school kids coming to visit the aquarium. And so they're looking at the stingray tank. Here's the stingray tank. I don't have a picture. There is an additional stingray in there. We were given a black stingray by one of the fishermen that they had no idea what it is. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's an undescribed species or potentially a hybrid. It's relatively short tail, but just pure black.
No gold spot.
No gold spot, nothing. Just black. So the aquarium is set up that after you come through the tunnel tank, you turn to your right, and we have this terrarium set up with frogs. And so what we're trying to do is as a transition from the land into the water. So we have a forest. This was very early on. It's plants are much better. Then we move into the water. There's our piranhas. Up front, you can see a plastic alligator skull. So it's like they ate an alligator. I really wanted to put in a plastic human skull. They talked me out of it because they're afraid that someone's family could have been eaten by piranhas and bring back bad mojo. So I went with the alligator skull instead.
Just tell them it's your shirt.
I know. Yeah. So our angelfish tank. So we have 150 species of fish in the aquarium. The thing is, the Peruvians know about 5 species because those are the species that they eat. And most of the people there, unless they work in the aquarium industry, don't really know what they have in their water. So this is a double glass tank. It's 14 feet long, so we couldn't get the glass thick enough. So the glass we had to order from Lima. It's triple laminated. They only have glass that's 1/4 inch thick. That's the thickest they make it. So they actually had to laminate the glass for us. Which wasn't very cheap. So Oscars, geophagans, a peacock bass. So these are some of the fish that they will eat. In Peru, if it is a food fish, you're not allowed to export it for the hobby. So even though you do see Peruvian Oscars sometimes in pet stores, those are actually black market fish. And it's only rare occasions that they actually give permits to export. Pet Globo, the little Amazon puffers. Leaf fish, in and amongst the leaves. So this is our big window tank. You can barely see it, but there's a fishing rod up on top. We had a artist come in, and there's actually a guy sitting on the bank fishing for these fish. But these are usually the fish that they catch in the river. Catfish, some red hooks. These are called sabado and arowanas up there. They do eat arowanas. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, we hadn't had rain in Iquitos for about 2 months. It got upwards to 105. All the roofs there are just metal roofs, no insulation. And so the roof is 10 feet tall. So we have this oven just radiating the heat down into this big tank. And this tank got over 90 degrees. The pelagic fish were fine. All the catfish overnight died. So what I had them do is buy a small room air conditioner and point the cold air down to the tank. So on those days that it's really hot, they will help cool it down. They wanted to buy a chiller. I said, okay, how much is a chiller? So they priced the chiller out at $50,000. You can buy it if you want to, not for my money, but your money. $50,000. And this is our big electric eel. The electric eel was actually part of a confiscation by the Peruvian government. We are the receiving center for all the confiscated fish that come out of Iquitos now. There was 4 electric eels in a box. Underneath the box, or there was a double layer box. They were hoping they wouldn't look in the bottom layer. Bottom layer, there were 100 tigrinus catfish, which is illegal to export out of Peru. So we got the electric eel, we got the tigrinus catfish. We were supposed to repatriate the catfish. They're going to have a big ceremony, the government, the TV station, and when the Ministry of Fisheries came out and looked at the catfish, they decided not to repatriate them, but we're going to be part of, or we are going to be a captive breeding program for the tigrinus catfish to try to see if we can stably breed them, then they can be released into the hobby. But we don't make money off these fish. Or when we do the breeding projects, we don't sell fish. We don't. We're not pet hobbyists, or we're pet hobbyists, not pet sellers.
Doctor, do they eat the eels?
No, they don't eat eels. They're afraid of the eels because the eels kill people. Yeah. Manta turtles. We have 2 little manta turtles in our aquarium. We got them in at 2 inches, and in 6 months they are now 5 inches, so they've grown dramatically. And I fought this tooth and nail. I did not want to have a marine tank in our aquarium because there's no marine fish there. The only marine fish that exists in the Amazon, anybody know what it is?
Oh, that's the noise. Bull sharks.
Bull sharks. Bull sharks have been caught. In fact, they caught one just this past summer in the Napo River. And there's recorded scientific papers on catching bull sharks in Iquitos. The people in Iquitos don't even know that. Yes, sir.
So are all the other fish are caught by you guys, or like people you're affiliated?
They either caught by us or the fishermen. We tell the fishermen we need these fish, and they'll go catch it for us. Occasionally, we don't like to do that, but occasionally we'll go to the exporters and buy fish if they get something really spectacular in from another region of Peru.
Okay.
So, but I was talking to it by my wife and our resident director, because even the kids there know Nemo. They know Dory. They want to see Nemo and Dory.
Yeah.
And so this is a 400-gallon tank. The problem is we have to bring in fish from the U.S. A clownfish in Peru, $300. Blue tang, $900. And so every time we go, we fill our bags full of fish, marine fish. We declare them, we have all the proper paperwork. They look at it, okay, go. But that you just can't find marine fish for a reasonable price there. Here's our discus tank. So that's now. So you don't see any red spotted greens. You see mostly just normal green discus. Remember, discus and Iquitos are not native to Iquitos. They're native to northern part of Peru. These fish were brought in the 70s. One through a plane crash that ran out of gas in the river and dumped 10,000 discus in the river. They went to collect in Lake Tefe, where the red spotted greens, the most beautiful ones are. And all throughout Brazil, they collected 10,000 fish. ran out of gas as they were heading to their facility and just dumped it all in the river. In another instance, about a year later, a fish farm that was right at the river's edge flooded, and all those discus went into the river. So they're actually an invasive species if you really want to think about it. But I mean, that's something that no one really even thinks about there. And this is the other side of that flooded forest tank. Most people think that these trees are alive because they have green leaves on it. What it is we went in when it was empty. We drilled holes and super glued in just silk leaves into the trunks. This is a very famous tree here. That tree, 2023, we found it in the river. There was 4 of us. And when we tried to pick it up, it caused me to have back surgery. For 6 weeks, I laid on the ground in pain because I was going to have back surgery there. And so when we got back, I immediately went and had back surgery. Now I'm fine and dandy, and I don't pick up trunks anymore. Number one thing. We do have one tank that is filled with the invasive fish there. There are 3 invasive fish that I work on for my research. Guppies. Guppy firms brought all over the world for mosquito control, even though the killifish there did a perfectly fine job. Just someone said, hey, guppies will do better. And so guppies are there by the millions. Blue brahmi are there by the billions. They were in an adjacent fish farm from the discus farm. And when it flooded, this guy had platies. He had like 30 or 40 different species of fish that he was raising in ponds. And the only ones that survived were the blue brahmi. And so in some parts of the backwaters in Iquitos, you walk on these things. There's so many there. And one of the things we do have, and something that they know nothing about, we do have a nocturnal room. We have a room that they can go into and look at all the fish that come out at night, mostly catfish and nightfish. People don't really swim much there because they worry about kangaroo catfish. Everybody know a kangaroo? The urethra swimming fish. And we actually caught one last summer when we were seining at night for corridors. We caught 2 little itty bitty. And I do have a picture. I don't have it in this presentation, but I do have a picture. It's now pickled in formaldehyde, sitting on my desk at home. But the only place to really worry about kangaroo catfish are in sandy beaches area. They like sandy beaches. So there are 2 things you don't do. You don't pee in the water if you're standing in a sandy beach. And the second is you don't pee in the water. Yes, sir.
I used to work for, I managed Dolphin International's Miami facility.
Yep.
And we used to import different small tetras.
Yeah.
Neons, cardinals. We used to get between 10 and 30,000 a week. And we would find 3 to 5 every ship.
Yeah, we actually, when we caught him, we put him in a tank with some various temperatures, not in the aquarium, but just in the fish house or our quarantine system. And even though it couldn't get to him, that thing was attacking all the temperatures. What they do is they go into the gill cavities and they suck the blood out of the gills. Because the same ions, chloride ions, the same salts that we release in our urine, fish release out of their gills. So that's what they're
They're not trying.
yeah, they they follow that stream of urine thinking, oh, I'm gonna find some gill tissues to suck on and get a blood meal. Yes, sir. Oh,
Yeah. You said they were very safe for beaches. Does that mean they like to Peru?
no, they kind of just sit there in that sandy beach area. And they come out at night. So this is a look at all the small tanks. Unfortunately, these small tanks are now starting to leak. Which is not gonna be that bad, because it's not like we're gonna have to bring in these tanks from some faraway land. We can build glass tanks very easily there. The size of these are, you know, the bottom ones are probably 75-gallon tanks. The ones on top are about a 30-gallon. So we build tanks all the time there. Just we don't have the ability to build the huge tanks. We do have a wall of honor, and we do have a plaque. These plaques are for people who donate money. There is a SAS plaque, a Sacramento Aquarium Society plaque for the money you gave the honor. So if you come visit the aquarium, you'll see the plaque there. The prices are very reasonable for us. For foreigners, for foreign tourists, it's 30 soles, which is about $8. For Peruvian adults, it's 20 soles, so it's $3.75 per dollar, so about $6. For kids under 6, they're free. From 6 to 12 is 10 soles. The school kids, the school pay 5 soles a kid, except if they come from one of the poor districts in the Quitos, they only pay 1 soles per kid. And we've serviced about 2,000 children now. Either we've gone to the school before the aquarium was open, or they've come to us. And each kid gets a book that was written by my wife, called The Adventures of Naldo, which teaches them about environmental education. So for that 5 soles, they walk away with a free book that we sell here in the US for people who want to buy it $10, $15. Because it costs us about $7 to have the book printed out. So when we give these kids the book, we're actually losing money off the deal. But we believe very strongly in the environmental education that we're doing. So these are just showing the ticket sales. They're fluctuating because in April, school's back in session. So March, April, school's there. We didn't get a lot of kids at first, but then May, June, July, August, September, this is only half a month. So we just got the results 2 days ago. We had 1,200 kids come, or 1,200 people come visit the aquarium. We had Miss Peru come to the aquarium. They sent me a photo and said, oh, look who is here. I said, okay, who is this? Yeah, that's Miss Peru. And they were very angry at Miss Peru because when she left, we have a gift shop. She didn't buy a single gift. We got stuffed animals and things, and she didn't give the guide. When you come to the aquarium, it's not like public aquariums here in the US. Public aquariums and tourist things in Peru, you get a guide that goes with you the whole time. So most of our employees that we have that I showed that picture first are guides that we employ. And so you have a guide that tour you through the entire aquarium, telling you all about the fish and the ecology and the conservation. And lots of times they get tips from the people, the public. We pay them well, but people want to give them tips, and Miss Peru did give them a tip, so they don't like the Peru now. This just shows the distribution of who's come. So you can see this column is actually the where is that? The adults, and these blue columns here represents the kids. So again, we've seen about 2,000 kids at the aquarium by the end of September. So we're meeting our goal of trying to educate the public on environmental education, because that's something they had no clue about there at all. So lessons learned. Time. It's going to take you 3-4 times more time to do this because you're in another country and lots of things have to be shipped in. You need probably 5 times the amount of money because of everything that happens. Everything has to be shipped into Iquitos. Iquitos used to have a tax-free system, and the government would pitch in 18%. So what it did is everything in Iquitos was 18% cheaper than the rest of the country. Well, about 5 years ago, right after COVID, the government did away with that. So overnight, everything, all the prices went up 20%. You know, for us, it's a big thing, but you know, not that big of a thing. But for people that their daily wage is $10 a day, to go up 30%, 20% overnight was a really big deal. And always you have unforeseen happening. You know, you have employees who quit, employees who sue you because you didn't give them a severance package. They know about lawsuits even in the backwoods of Peru. This is where you can find us on social media, all over the place. There's the email if you'd like to get a hold of me, especially this next part. We do take volunteers and interns any time of the year. You just have to give us a minimum of 3 weeks. We house you, we feed you. At the facility, we have modern dormitories. Each room has their own bathroom, has an air conditioning in each room. We have ceiling fans. We have hot and cold running water, showers. In the kitchen, it's a big kitchen, big dining room. We have laundry facilities, washer and a dryer, which is important when it's 100% humidity outside. Things tend not to dry. They tend to turn brown and green and black from the mold that grows on them. We bought the only dryer that was known to exist outside of the laundromats there in Iquitos. We also have a one-of-a-kind job opportunity for any of you who want to spend 1 year. That's all we're asking is 1 year commitment in Peru to be the manager of the aquarium. You will manage the interns. You will manage our volunteers. You will coordinate with the school system. You'll live for free at the research center in the dorm. You'll have your own dorm room. While my wife and I are there, you don't pay for food. We give you a monthly stipend. The only problem is you have to be able to speak fluent English and Spanish, because you have to be able to communicate with the employees. I can speak with our resident manager. He doesn't speak English. My Spanish is really bad, but we have this language that we know what we're talking about. Even though I heard Spanish all my life, my mother, her mother was from Mexico, so my grandmother didn't speak English, and I never learned Spanish growing up. But you want a job for 1 year. You want to take a gap year. You want to take a sabbatical year. So if you know anybody, go to our website. Email me or my wife. We also have an adopt a tank system that we're starting in the fall. So if you want to adopt a tank, pay a little bit of money, put a plaque, and it'll be the Ron Coleman Memorial. Also, on YouTube, October 12th, Sacramento Aquarium channel. We're going to have does a Aquarius auction about twice a month where we have people from all over the U.S. sell their fish. You bid on it there. And so we're going to have a special auction where people are donating fish and stuff, shrimp, plants, and all the proceeds go to our cause. We do a Christmas party for the kids in our village every year. For most of these kids, this is the only Christmas gifts they get. We're in a very poor village. That's why we hire only people from the village that to work at the aquarium. I'm myself, have 3 apistogramma species, 2 that are undescribed, and 1 that the males turn bright blue. It has a name, but I forgot the name of it. They call it Pictogramma azul, which means blue. I also have a pair of killifish, Anablitzoides speciosus, which is an endangered species. The killifish are only about 1 inch long, as well as some shrimp that I raise at home. So we're gonna have a lot of stuff. There's gonna be albino gold laser cories that are being donated. The last time he had them for auction, they sold for $400. No, for a group of 6, not each. I'm crazy, but I wouldn't pay $400 each. I'll know it about it. And with that, I say thank you very much. Hey, it's not all doom and gloom or gloom and doom. Things are good. Things are good.
Do you have internships for high school kids?
They have to be over 18. If they're under 18, they have to be accompanied by an adult. We 2 years ago, we brought in a 15-year-old kid as a trial basis. It was the most miserable experience I've ever had.
I get it. I'm a half teacher.
Yeah, he thought being there, he could do anything he wanted to. He didn't want to work. He didn't want to do anything. He always was trying to talk our employees to go buy him cigarettes.
What is your website address?
Website address is amazonresearchcenter.org. So amazonresearchcenter.org. Yes, sir.
So the discus have been in there for a bit. Have you seen any sign of breeding at all?
Well, when we first put in the discus, the second round, we had 1 pair off and laid eggs in the tank. Since then, nothing. Nothing.
You mentioned something about the large number of neons not
Yep.
cooling.
Yeah.
It would be, if you do have an intern, an excellent research project to introduce a small cichlid.
Yeah.
Get them before,
Yep.
maybe how they're behaving
Yeah.
after. That's an experiment. No one else can do that.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There's a couple questions about the dark red.
Yeah.
Why red?
Red, supposedly most animals can't perceive red light. Most, like with coral tanks at night, they put a blue light on. They say they don't perceive the blue light. Why red? Because I wanted red.
Blue penetrates deep,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so can they see, or do they think it's totally dark?
We've reversed the daylight cycle on it. So during the night, we have bright white lights in that room.
So the contrast.
So the contrast from those bright lights going on at night to these red lights, when you go in there at night, they're all tucked into the wood and stuff.
Can they see you outside of the tank?
They don't seem to be, because the room is totally dark. The only lights are above the tanks. And we have a blackout curtain going into the space before you actually go into the room. Then you turn and there's another blackout curtain. So even if you open the first curtain, the other second curtain is not going to let that light in.
And what's the light source? How are you producing the
LEDs.
They're LEDs.
Yeah, red.
So is it red with a filter screen or something, like a red film that they're?
No, these are the RGB that you can buy on Amazon. Yeah, and the ones I bought that I brought down actually have a tube over them that are capped, so they're totally waterproof.
Well,
Some people actually put them inside of the tank.
we try to place. Look, to help answer the question though, most of the nocturnal fish don't use their eyes at night.
Yeah.
They have weak electrical
Yeah.
fields, or Which is lateral line.
Yeah, that's,
So it
you know,
wouldn't matter, even
Yeah.
if there was, they could see, they're not relying on sight
Yeah.
to navigate the aquarium.
Wouldn't surprise me if something that was nocturnal had lost some ability to see red. Does that mean that if a fish has red color, it's probably not nocturnal? Because it wouldn't do any good?
well,
A
but,
lot of.
yeah, deep sea fishes are red. You know, that's a question that
Like all the amphibians
Yeah.
are bad to deep water.
the squirrel fish, when I was an undergraduate, I asked my fish biology professor, why are deep water fish red in the ocean, but fish that live in caves that are dark are albino?
Thank you very much.
No problem. If you want to talk to me afterwards and write these large checks, I'm willing to take it back. He told me any checks, you know, or you go to our website, there's a donate button. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming, Dr. Mazeroll.
You're welcome.
Have a good night, YouTube. Thanks for joining us.
Oh.
We'll see you next month. And we're gonna take a quick break, maybe 15 minutes or so before we start our auction. Before we do that, I'm looking for a few people. If your name is called and you are present, please see Modesta. We have membership cards for you.